Our latest project was laying out this natural sandstone pathway and the staircase. I'm going to take you through the whole procedure and then the cladding of the natural sandstone. Pathway's laid out in crazy paving. We've got to excavate all this dirt out of here.
The finished stone pathway is going to end up slightly above the grass level for drainage.
You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
Our latest project was laying out this natural sandstone pathway. It had two basic elements to it. The sandstone pathway and the staircase. It was a pathway leading from the road to the deck. I'm going to take you through the whole procedure, including the excavation, the concrete base we laid under here, the concrete staircase, and then the cladding of the natural sandstone. The pathway is laid out in crazy paving pattern with a combination of gravel and cement fill in between the cracks. The practical part of this project was creating access to the driveway over there and stairs that brought you up to the deck height. People had started using this side entrance of the house as a main thoroughfare, so the owner decided to make it official by putting this sandstone pathway and staircase in. And so my client wanted a safe, attractive platform pathway for people to be able to walk and enter the deck area. Part of the design aspect of this and make it seamless with the ground level. So it has a slight ramp from where the building starts to where the road edge is. And then it's basically dead flat all the way through with a slight raking towards the grass so it naturally drains into the grass area. Originally there was a timber step here that people used as a way of stepping up to the deck. So we removed that and replaced it with a concrete structure clad in natural sandstone, so we could have easy access to the deck from ground height. It ended up being calculated out as 4 steps to give you a nice step height. The sandstone part was for aesthetics because we wanted it to tie into this crazy paved pathway we'd started. But the practical aspect was to create easy steps up to this deck platform. But instead of doing the crazy paving pattern that we have on the pathway, using like a tile system, custom cutting all the sandstone pieces into tile squares and use tile adhesive to stick it over our concrete foundation to create a really solid staircase. The main element of this project was putting the stone pathway in. The pathway is constructed over a concrete slab with the sandstone glued down with tile cement, levelled as we go with packers to make sure it has a slight gradation running out onto the grass. And then I've filled it with a mixture of gravel, bluestone and cement to offset the natural light coloured stone.
I go red when you're sitting nearby. I'm like a young child. Oh, it's silly how time just flies when we play and you hide. You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
So the stone pathway comes all the way through here. Came and sprayed the grass about a month ago to kill it, to make it easier for excavation. We're going to be removing these pavers and reusing them over here because that's part of our project too, is we're redoing some paving to get it to a new height over here. We've got to excavate all this dirt out of here, about 150 mil, set some edging up, pour our concrete on, and then we'll be ready to stick our stone down.
The first thing I have to do is remove these old pavers. We're going to be using these pavers around the side on another one of the jobs on this property, which is going to be to relay an entryway paving section at a different height so it matches the stairs properly.
monsoon rain. You had a show like a lightning bolt. You had it all.
My next task is to remove this bench seat. People have been using it as an improvised staircase to access the deck. This is what brought about this project. Although this had been constructed as a bench seat, people were using it as a giant step to access the deck. So that's why the owners decided to put a staircase here. The new staircase is going to be concrete clad in sandstone, but the owner would like to retain the bench seat, so I'm going to re-erect it around the side of the stone staircase. I won't be reusing any of the structural timber, but I will be reusing the decking planks. This way it'll match the existing deck. I want to remove this deck planking as carefully as possible because we'll be reusing it. So the trick here is to be able to back out the screws without blowing the heads off. Most of these screws are coming out quite easily. I stack all my deck timbers off to the side. I like to keep a really clean construction site when I'm doing demolition. I don't want to be tripping over any of the timbers, creating any accidents for myself. Most of the deck planking came off without any trouble. A couple of the screw heads have failed in these other planks, so we've got to do a bit of fiddling to get them off. Now that I've harvested all the decking successfully, we're going to demolish the frame of this structure. I won't be saving any of this material for rebuild. I'm using my wrecking bar, crowbar and hammer to lever these timbers apart. I always hammer flat any nails or screws as I'm doing my demolition, as I don't want to accidentally step on them or cut myself later when I'm removing all the material. I'm using my small circular saw to make a couple of strategic cuts in the framing. After cutting through the framework, I finish it off with my mini sledgehammer. I take my time and try and work slowly and carefully. It can be easy to injure yourself in demolition. I also don't want to damage any of the structure that's going to be remaining. By staying focused on removing one piece at a time, having the right tools to do the job, we can get this done without hurting ourselves or damaging our property. After removing most of the frame, I've started pulling out the stumps. This involves a lot of digging and hammering.
Oh, it's silly how time just flies when we play and you hide. You come and go like a monsoon rain. You had a show like a lightning bolt. You had it all.
That completes the primary demolition for this job, removing that wooden step, because we're going to replace that with concrete and stone. We'll come back tomorrow and carry on. Before we start our excavation, I need to do a little more cleaning up from the demolition the day before. I'm breaking up all the concrete from the wooden stumps I pulled out, because I'll be able to recycle these concrete chunks in the concrete staircase we'll be constructing later. I'm now going to excavate the dirt along the entire pathway length. This excavation is going to be about 150 mil deep. We have to make room for the gravel bed, the concrete slab, and then the stone on top. The finished stone pathway is going to end up slightly above the grass level for drainage. I don't want to remove too much soil from our excavation. If I dig too deep, I'll ruin the compaction of the soil. So when we pour our concrete on top, there won't be any sinkage. So I'm using one of the scrap timbers we got from the demolition as an indicator to keep track of how deep I'm digging. By laying my spirit level across the scrap timber to the grass, I can get an accurate idea of how deep we've excavated. Once I've got a relatively large section scraped out at the right height, it's easy to keep track of the depth just by eye. I'm trying to be extra careful with my mattock, not to dig too deep. Just make short, sharp strokes. I sprayed the outline of our pathway over a month ago with weed killer, so this creates a really clear line on where to dig. After removing most of the soil with the mattock and shovel, I give it a final touch-up with my rake to get it all smoothed off. I've probably got about 80% of the dirt removed at this stage. After we add the timber borders that'll set the height for the concrete, we'll rake out a little more to get it exact. Join me on my next episode as we get some gravel and materials delivered and finish off the borders for the concrete pour.
I go in when you're sitting nearby. I'm like a young child. Oh, it's silly how time just flies when we're playing you hide. You come and go like a monsoon rain. You had a show like a lightning bolt. You had it all.
Well, that concludes our work today.
Thanks for joining me this week on my YouTube channel. Check the link below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe button or make a comment so I can help you with your future construction solutions. And don't forget to follow our channel for more ideas and how-to tips for home and garden projects.